Hey everybody, Ray here. Welcome back to another video. So this video is exciting. I got my parts for my transmission. Let me show you I'll give you a run through on everything I've done with the transmission. It's been a few videos since then, and I'll show you how it's going to go together. So basically what happened last time is I damaged one of the sealing rings here. So I now have my new set on. Excuse me. And then I also found out that as soon as I went to put my clutch packs in, I hadn't measured these clutch packs. And like by measured, I mean there's a certain thickness between the top pressure plate and the snap ring that it needs to be a certain distance. So I measured that, and I forget, like 100 thou off on this one clutch pack, and I couldn't figure out why. And then I realized the kit that I ordered came with all the same size friction plates, which were all 60 thou-ish, 60 or 61 thou, which was fine for this one clutch pack. For some reason, this thing had two different size friction plates. 60 thou in this one, or 61, and then I think they were 79 or 80 in the other one. I did not know this before I ordered it, but they all came 60s. And it also came with an extra steel and friction plate. So I thought, well, it's because you can put an extra plate in there with a new friction. Well, that doesn't work with this one for some reason. It covered the snap ring hole, so you couldn't even get a snap ring in there. And now I guess at one point in time there were different thickness of snap rings you could get to make up for that. But I couldn't find them anywhere. So I had to make a decision, and that was either buy new frictions that were 80 thou or 79 thou, whatever the hell they are, or buy new steels that are oversized steels. So instead of 80 thou steels, you get 95 thou steels, I think they were, around there. So the new friction material was 12 bucks a piece, and the new steels, I think, were 4 bucks a piece. So I went with new steels. I just finished putting that together, and everything measured fine. I was like half between 50 thou and 66 thou, I believe, and I am at 56. So that's what I measured. So that one's ready to go in. I got my washer all installed, so that's ready to go in. Now I still have to put this in and measure the end play. So I'm about to do that. So I'll get my clutch packs put in, measure the end play, and get this buttoned up. And I'm not going to show that because I'm just going to slap this thing together because I want to get it in the car tonight. One other thing, if the end play is off, there's different shims. I can't remember if I showed this before, but there's selectable shims. So I just went with the original thickness here and the thinner shim here, and you can play with whatever ones you get it. Whatever one makes you happy. So, so I'm going to throw this together and see how it goes, and come back when it's all together. All right, so it's about an hour and a half later. I've got everything buttoned up, ready to go. Everything went in good. I had to take the pump out a couple times just to get my end play right. When I put it in with those stock shims that I had, or the ones that came out of it, same ones, and it was around 45 thousandths. So you need between 8 thou and 42. So I took that out, put a different spacer in the front and different in the back, and now I was down to, I didn't want to go too tight just because I don't know, I didn't want to go down to 8 thou. So I'm sitting around, I think, was it 20 thou, if I remember right, 22 thou. So I feel like that's okay. It's good middle range. I don't mind being in the middle. And I got everything bolted back up. Everything's torqued. I put my valve body was ready to go, so I just bolted that in, got the filter in, got the pan on, and now I'm ready to put it on my jack, and then I can put my torque converter on, and then we'll get this thing back in the car. Okay, So, got my transmission on my transmission jack. I filled the torque converter, and I've got it installed in there. And in case you're wondering, that is a new torque converter. So, there's the old one over in the pile over there. So since I had time, just to, sit and wait for parts, I got, doing a lot more reading about transmission. I know nothing about transmissions or how, what you do to the engine affects them. So I remember someone in one of the comments in my earlier videos asked what I was doing for a torque converter, whether I was keeping the stock one or getting a new one. And I was just going to run the stock one. But, the more, I was told that's a new torque converter, and I don't have any reason not to suspect that it is. But based on the other parts I've seen in this transmission, I kind of lost trust in everything that was originally part of it. And I emailed, I think, 3 companies: Hughes Performance, TCI, and, was it Monster Transmission? I can't remember the other one. It was one of the ones that were on Summit Racing. Boss, maybe? It was just like a month ago. So I emailed them and to say, they all sell stock torque converters. They sell whatever you want. And I told them what I was doing with the car. This is just a street, fun on the weekends kind of car. Maybe I have 300 horsepower, if that. I wouldn't be surprised if it's less. But I told them, the weight's a little over 3,000 pounds. I got 325 rear end. They needed to know the camshaft duration. That was a big thing. Apparently that's directly correlated to what stall a converter you need is the camshaft duration. And it was, I can't remember, 235, 232, something like that, off the top of my head. So sent them all that info, and they all 3 companies came back with the same recommendation, that you need a higher stall converter. I didn't want to, but I also don't want to take this transmission out again to find that it's a dog. Or what can happen is, I guess, it will try to power through. It's just sitting at a stoplight with the brakes applied. It'll try to power through the converter if it's got too low a stall. So I was like, I don't want to deal with that again. So I bought a new torque converter. Yeah, so there it is. So it's a Hughes Performance 3025, I believe, made for this model year transmission. I think it's in a big block. It's a 2500 stall. They were always rated for big blocks. In a small block, it's about 300 RPM less, so it's about a 2200 stall, maybe even less. Depends on the weight of the car too. So there's a lot of things that go into it. So it's around a 2200 stall converter. So that's that. That was, yeah, all companies came back with the same recommendation. So I really wanted to go with the original one. That would have been cool. Saved some money. This wasn't cheap, but I also don't want to, at this point, I'm not screwing around doing stuff wrong. So I might as well do it right. So, all right, let's get this transmission in. I took the tire off, so I don't think I can, on my transmission jack, it sits a little higher than my floor jack, so I think I can slide it in underneath here without jacking the car up anymore. So, but we'll see, and I'll see you when I'm under there. Okay, so I realized for the last 2 hours I thought I was recording, and I wasn't. So, yeah, this is gonna be a terrible video. Anyway, transmission's in. Like, everything's in. Everything's torqued, everything's buttoned up. I just cleaned up my tools. I'll stop recording now. And then, yeah, I didn't record anything. So, there you go. Anyway, transmission's in. Just gotta put my tires back on, and I can drop it down and put fluid in it. We'll see how it happens. Okay. Well, it's a day later. I hit a snag. So I wasn't in a rush last night, but I was just moving, good. Got the transmission in, decided that I, put some fluid in. I'm going to give her a nice test, see if it works. Yeah, filled it up. Everything worked great. I let it warm up, checked my fluid, got it in there. It was perfect. I actually tuned my carburetor as well, leaned it out a little bit because it was running real rich. Yeah. And yeah, hopped in the driver's seat, put her in reverse, and I got nothing. And it didn't sound funny, it just sounded weird, like it was a clunk, like it went into gear, but then nothing. Didn't go backwards. Put it in neutral, and it would go forward. Drive. So for neutral would drive, drive would drive, two would drive, and one would drive. So it had all drives, and I think park, it was still driving. It was trying to drive. Um, and when it went into reverse, now that I think about it, like it would clunk like it was going in, but it would just sit there, and it was almost like essentially what I did was it made a trans brake. So it would just sit there and not do anything. So I did a little research last night and found that my more than likely, so as you can see now, I'm draining the transmission again. So it's just dripping right now. I pulled the valve body out. I think I had, well, like most likely it was a stuck valve body. And when I pulled this apart, I had my 1 and 2 was stuck, as well as my other one as well. The 2 and 3, 1 and 2 were there. Everything was stuck. So I had a heck of a time getting them out. I don't know why it was stuck. No idea whether there was dirt in there or something else. So I've taken the entire thing apart, cleaned it. I've sanded down. The edges on these are very sharp, and I was reading that that's one thing to do to keep these from binding. It was just to sand down the edges on them, just dull them up a little bit, make it, slide a little easier. So I did that. Brake cleaned everything, blew it all out, so hopefully that will work. I'm going to do the same to that half. There's no valves or anything in that half, so that'll just be a cleaning, if there's any gunk or whatever in that side. We'll get it out. The big one is this one. And everything looks all right, like all the parts are here. Everything looks good. So yeah, I'm just going to, I've finished scuffing all my edges. So I'm going to put everything back in and get this thing buttoned up. And I don't know if I'll get it back in tonight. I'm going to let it drain, wait for it to stop dripping, and then we'll see if we can get at it tomorrow. Well, valve body's back together. Everything was moving good, nothing was stuck. Got it put back in. Dropped the car down, started up right away. Was putting transmission fluid in, and then the car died. Just shut right off. Couldn't restart it. And then I realized I was out of gas. So I need to put gas in this thing. I had to go get gas, and now I'm putting gas in it, and I'll finish what I was doing a minute ago, and then we'll see if it works. Hopefully it does. We're in the car, it's running. The transmission fluid is at the top. So reverse. No reverse. I am not moving. Neutral, going, I'm in drive. Okay. Drive, drive, first, drive, reverse, nothing. So it's exactly the same as before. Son of a bitch. All right, well, it looks like I'm dropping the transmission again. Great. Okay. Well, the car is back up in the air. I'm just draining the fluid again. Pull the valve body out. Everything looks okay. So it's not the valve body, I've come to decide. Nothing in there would even cause that issue. So I went back to my manual just to check, and it looks like I have everything set up right. My measurements were good on my clutch packs. But as you can see, so this is the hydraulic manual. So what's happening is the forward clutch is always engaged, even in park. So it's engaged in park, it's engaged in neutral, like neutral drives, they all drive. And in all drive positions, your forward clutch is engaged, which is not, like, that clutch is the one I had no problems with. It measured fine, it was perfect. It was the low reverse clutch, or the reverse and direct clutch that I had the clearance issues with. I had to order parts for. Yeah, the forward clutch measured fine. So, but it's engaged in all your drive gear. So drive through everything, it's engaged. But so when I put it in reverse, it locks the wheels right up. So I ran it on jack stands. So yeah, put it in neutral. It was, it starts okay, but when it's in drive, it's obviously lugging a little bit in park because it's stopping the wheels from turning just on the parking pole. But yeah, you put it in neutral, it drives like it's in normal drive gears, so which doesn't make any sense. When you put it in reverse, it stops immediately. So it's engaging the reverse clutch and the band. So reverse is working. It's just working against the drive that shouldn't be driving. So, and here is the hydraulic diagram for the transmission. So this is set up so it's actually as if it's in neutral. So your feed goes from here. This is right from your pump. So your pump pressure goes to this line, goes down to your manual valve. And since the forward gear is always engaged when it's in drive, it's controlled by the manual valve. That's the physical valve that your detents are on. So you can see there's your feed. So this is a neutral, so it's blocked off. So there shouldn't be any feed in this pressure line that goes up to your forward clutch. But I do have, but it's engaged, but there's no pressure on it. So that means there's a mechanical issue. So I have to drop the transmission again. So I don't know what or why. That clutch was perfect. Like, I don't know. So I'll pull it apart. Maybe I have it misaligned. Maybe I didn't get it seated all the way. I don't know. It seemed to work okay. So I don't know. Something's not right though. But we'll pull it apart, and hopefully for the last, third time's the charm, I guess. Right? Right? So anyways, that's it for tonight. It's late. I've been racking my brain trying to figure this out. So hopefully we'll get this sorted out. Today's Wednesday, so I don't know. I'll see if I can get the transmission dropped tomorrow after work. Maybe see if I feel like doing it on Friday. I try to take Fridays off, and then working on Saturday, but it's supposed to be a nice weekend. So I don't know. We will see. All right. Well, it's a day later. Transmission's out. I'm getting really good at this. 2 hours. She's out. I got the pump I got the bolts out of the pump. Gonna pop it off, flip it over, find out what we got inside. Okay. Well, I found the problem. This clutch pack is locked right up. See how down here, the clutches move and stuff. This one, no go. She's tight, and I don't know why. I did measure the clearance before it went in. I think it was right on the minimum clearance. I think it was 26 thou or something. But obviously something is not right with this. So whether it's not releasing, whether there's fluid inside and it's not letting go or what, I do not know. So I'm going to take that apart and find out. Well, I am thoroughly confused. So this was tight. I don't know why. The clutches are pretty burned up. The steels look like they're kind of blue a little bit. These were black to begin with, so but yeah, you can see some bluing maybe happened on there. These clutches are black. Look like they got real hot. Pressure plates are okay. Yeah, I don't know why it was locked up. Because all I did when I took, so this was on here with a snap ring. I dumped that out. And all I did was push on the bottom and it released. So I have no idea. So whatever that release is, I don't know if there's a ball in there or what, but it didn't work. So there's a chunk of something in there that was blocking it or what, but yeah, it locked right up. So I'm gonna pull this apart, check my seals, make sure it looks okay. I guess, I don't know. I guess I can't use those again. Well, I don't know. I have the old ones still, so I'm just gonna throw the old ones in, I guess. Um, the clearance was fine, so I don't know. I have no idea. I'm gonna clean it really well, that's for sure, and put it back together. Okay, well, it's a day later. Um, I've got everything reassembled. I found out what the problem was, and the problem was me. Um, it was my fault that it didn't work. So you can see this big spring in here, that big, it's a big washer with fingers on it that pushes down on your piston. Um, that's the spring that pushes, pressurizes your clutch. When it lets the pressure off, that spring pushes the piston down, so it releases your clutch in neutral and in park. I put that in backwards. I didn't realize that. I was at work this morning and I had an epiphany, and I'm like, I put that spring in backwards. And I went back and looked at the previous video, and you can see in there that the spring is the opposite way. And there's little wear marks on each of the fingers, telling me that it had 100,000 miles on that spring. It was the other way. So, yeah, that was entirely my fault. And I should have caught that before it ever went in. That was just absolutely my fault. So what had happened, ideally you should air check it, kind of what I'm doing now, before it goes in. But when I assembled these, I was excited and I overlooked that step. So I didn't air check it. I checked my clearances, but I didn't pressurize it. So I thought, well, I'll put it in the transmission and air check it in there, which normally would be fine. So the problem is, I put it in and I did my air check and I heard a clunk. Went on to the next one, clunk. Good. Clutches are working. When I pressurized it, it drove it in immediately. So when that spring is the opposite way, it just it pressurizes that piston and locks that piston in place. So didn't have a chance from step one. When I pressurized it and checked it, I heard a clunk, thought it was good. That was it. And it locked it in place and then burned up my my friction clutches and my plates. So what I've done, luckily, which wasn't luckily to begin with, I took the friction plates and the new steels out of the direct clutch, which only operates in high gear and in reverse. So I took those out, and because they're the same thickness, they work in the forward clutch as well. And the forward clutch operates at all times. As soon as you're in drive, in 1, 2, and 3, that forward clutch is running. So I thought I might as well put the better ones in there, I guess. And the direct clutch, I have the original friction material and the original steels put in place. So those new steels that I bought were completely unnecessary. So, shit happens, and I've learned a lot. So I know this transmission inside and out, which is a good thing now. Yeah, so you can see it's supposed to be 26 thou. So this is ideally what I should have done before. I didn't even think about doing this. I watched a guy do it on YouTube, watched a video. In the manual, it says to check clearances with just your feeler gauge. But honestly, this is way easier. So I have my direct drum on the bottom. I checked it already. It was sitting at 55 thou, so it should be between 50 and 66, I believe. And then this one should be between 26 and 30. Oh, where is it? 26 and 42. So it should work here. No, wrong one. I'm leaking here. I don't want to push too hard. It'll fall. There we go. So you can see it's going up to 26. So I'm right at the bare minimum for clearance, which I'm okay with. Yeah, that should work. And you can see it's pressurizing and releasing because I have the stupid spring in the right way. So this should work no problem. So I'm going to get this assembled, and I don't know if I'll put it in tonight. It's Friday night. Yeah, I may do it tomorrow. I'll probably do it tomorrow. I'm gonna get it tonight because I feel like I'll be rushing tonight and then probably screw something up. So I'll have all day tomorrow to look at it, and then maybe I'll take it for a drive because I don't think I'll be able to drive it tonight because I haven't got, my headlights aren't adjusted and stuff like that. I gotta do some stuff, so we'll do that tomorrow. I'll get this thing buttoned up, put it back together. Should be good to go. So that's my problem. It was me. Okay, well, transmission's back together. It is ready to go back in the car. It's now a day later. So I am going to get this thing installed, and yeah, we'll see how it goes from there. But on that note, I'm going to finish off the video. Cliffhanger. So now you got to watch the next one. Or not, whatever. Get this put in. I have confidence levels are high right now. And we should be able to drive it later today. But tune in next time to see if this actually works.